This is the High School Crossfire. Welcome back.
Resolved for a sustainable and stable economic growth, African countries should prioritize domestic tourism over international tourism. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Achimu Abigail, the second speaker from Team Affirmative. Ladies and gentlemen, we as Team Affirmative, I re-echo this, we as Team Affirmative are looking at domestic tourism as a tourism between the borders of Africa, whereby a country within Africa is going to visit a fellow country within Africa. And we are looking at international tourism as African country, members of Africa, like Africans living the African continent, going to other continents, and other members from other continents coming into the African continent. That is how we are characterizing international tourism. We as Team Affirmative. So, ladies and gentlemen, they have talked about the international tourism and foreigners, but we are looking at African countries being united by the United Nations. So what are we meaning? If African countries are united by the United Nations, this is still going to unite them, and this is how they are going to promote the economic growth of the Africa as one. Ladies and gentlemen, we as Team Affirmative are going to prioritize domestic tourism. And why are we prioritizing domestic tourism? We are prioritizing domestic tourism because it has job creation opportunities, infrastructure development, local spending patterns, tourism recovery, economic resilience. We are going to have reducing on the dependency on external market. We are going to have minimizing economic leakage, not granted. We are going to have revenue contribution. So we as Team Affirmative are looking at domestic tourism promoting job creation. How? The tourism sector is a significant employer, creating jobs in various roles, from hotel staff to tour guides and local artisans. Ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at domestic tourism, promoting and bringing about jobs for the people within the communities. So, according to the World, not granted, I'll take that later, according to the World Travel and Tourism Council, the tourism sector supported approximately 24.3 million jobs in Africa in 2019, representing 10.3% of total employment on the continent. A significant portions of these jobs can be contributed by domestic tourism. So we are looking at domestic tourism bring about jobs, and these jobs, as people are working, these jobs are taxed. Ladies and gentlemen, jobs that are promoted by domestic tourism are taxed, and this tax is used to promote the economy of countries in Africa. That's why we are prioritizing domestic tourism. Ladies and gentlemen, we are having economic resilience. Domestic tourism bring about economic resilience. How? The recovery seen in 2021 and 2022 suggests that countries with strong domestic tourism markets bounce back quickly than relying heavily on international tourism. For instance, in Kenya, domestic tourism contributed 80% of tourism revenue in 2021. The Kenya Tourism Board reported that sector struggled domestic travelers over local attraction. So in Kenya, the revenue remember we're having the pandemic disease that was COVID-19 in the recent years. So it is seen that because of prioritizing domestic tourism in Kenya, what they lost during that time was able to be recovered because of the domestic tourism being prioritized. That's why we as African continents should prioritize domestic tourism so that we can have an economic resilient Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, we are having domestic tourism helping in the promotion and reducing on dependency on external markets. Where are we seeing that? Domestic tourism, according to the World Tourism Council in 2019, domestic tourism reduces dependency on foreign tourists, which can be volatile, influenced by global events. With all that said, allow me to rest my case.
I'll start by posing a question to Team Affirmatives. Won't prioritizing domestic tourism limit the influx of foreign exchange earnings and hinder economic growth? Aaron Kalinaki, Team Negatives. So we are looking at a stable and sustainable economic growth, but the bottom line is economic growth, which is money. So we are looking at what can earn the economy more continuously. Before I go further, there was a pending question that was given to my first speaker. The Team Affirmative asked something about a tourist from Egypt having US dollars and using them in a country like Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, this is international tourism. That's what we are talking about. Tourism across borders. Yes, a person from Egypt with US dollars can use them in Uganda because that is international tourism. And that is what we are talking about. So, before I go further, allow me rebut. The current speaker talked about reducing independence on the international market. But if you look at statistics, what we need to continue to have a stable and sustainable economic growth is interdependence with people from different countries. Okay, moving on. Why international tourism? Ladies and gentlemen, we are basing our lines on argument on 4 major pillars: foreign exchange earnings, visibility, international relationships, creation of jobs. Starting with foreign exchange earnings, it is a major source of foreign exchange earnings for many countries. When tourists travel to a different country, they typically spend more on things like accommodation, food, transportation, and souvenirs, which contributes to the local economy and generates income from sources. For example, if a tourist leaves the United States with $1,000, uses them on travel expenses in an African country, there will be an inflow of those $1,000 in this country. This is according to geography.com. Now, a case study from Morocco. Morocco, with 14.5 million tourists, foreign exchange recorded $105 billion, which is $10.5 billion. According to spectator.africa. So, considering that tourism is an export, and higher exports than imports in a country are what determine economic growth. So tourism being an export, economic growth will be seen by us earning more from the exports, which is international tourism, than imports allowed.
Dear Speaker, is somebody moving from Egypt to Uganda going to use a bus or a plane?
That is a bit irrelevant to what I'm talking about, but moving on. Second line of argument: enhances visibility on a global scale, leading to foreign direct investment. Now, what is foreign direct investment? FDI, which is foreign direct investment, is a type of international investment where an investor from one country makes an investment in a business or project in another country. This is according to researchgate.com. So tourists are going to come in from across the borders into nations, let us say Uganda, Egypt, any African state you might want to use. And these tourists, they are going to see various investment opportunities. They are going to go back to their nations. They will go back with a mentality that there is an investment opportunity, let us say in South Africa. So what next? We should come and invest in South Africa. What are the benefits of FDI? Creation of jobs, knowledge transfer, capital formation. Point number 3, better international relationships. Yes, we are looking at tourism, but the bottom line is economic growth. Benefits of better international relationships, which are brought about by international tourism. It promotes peace, which is essential for matters of security. Where there is peace, tourism can continue. Tourism continues, we are earning as an economy. Promotes cooperation, exchange, and cultural development. And lastly, promotes trade and interdependence among nations. This is according to globalpeacecarriers.com. Lastly, creation of jobs. Tourism currently accounts for around 7% of Morocco's GDP, with some 827,000 people currently directly employed in this sector. But this international tourism is what is accounting for the 7% and employing these people. It's according to economictimes.com. As I'm leaving, I'd like to inform and ask team affirmatives. 29% of Africans are extremely poor. They can't spend more than $1.90 per day. Given that many African countries have low average incomes, how will domestic tourism sustain high revenue year-round? I rest my case.
This is the High School Crossfire. We'll be back in a minute.